the serial killer, approached the girl who was practicing yoga.
I was wondering when you were finally gonna show.
As there was a cliff behind her, the girl had nowhere to retreat. The killer stabbed her in the abdomen and pierced the iron hook from the hole to the top of her head, placing the woman's head inside her belly. He was skillful in his technique, and no one knew the killer's name. He roamed in the white pine forest. On that day, a passing tourist picked up a gold necklace in the forest and left. Just as he left, the stick holding the necklace suddenly shook. Then, a large hand emerged from the ground, and the person beneath slowly crawled out of the soil. It was the killer who had just awakened, and upon seeing the necklace being taken, began searching ahead. He saw a pink ribbon tied to a tree, surrounding a camera, indicating that someone had been nearby. Just then, a car honking could be heard in the distance. The killer went to investigate, and there was a house on the grassland ahead. The killer heard the voices of two men arguing, and saw figures talking in the front yard. He circled around to the back of the house. One of the men had already driven away, leaving behind the homeowner in a blue shirt. The killer entered the farmhouse. Coincidentally, the homeowner had just left with a hunting rifle. The killer looked at the photo on the table, and remembered the words his father had said when giving him the necklace. "This is the necklace your mother loved the most. Now I'm giving it to you. No matter what happens, it will always be by your side." The killer quickly found a gold necklace, and was about to take it, but heard someone returning. The next moment, the homeowner fired a shot at him, but the killer didn't fall. He seized the homeowner's hunting rifle, the previous bullet embedded in his palm. Terrified, the homeowner fled into the forest, and the killer followed. Soon, the homeowner was accidentally injured by a trap. These traps were the ones he had set up not long ago. Unexpectedly, he himself became the first prey. After killing the homeowner, he returned to the room to take the necklace, but he quickly realized that this necklace wasn't the one his mother had left for him. The killer continued moving forward, passing by the homeowner's corpse, and kept going, because there was only one thing on the killer's mind: to reclaim what belonged to him. Suddenly, a car roared past. The killer changed direction and followed. Then, he heard sporadic gunshots. It turned out, some young people were camping and playing with guns. They were gathered around a campfire, chatting and laughing, and discussing the infamous White Pine Massacre. Leo had heard his uncle talk about it. Approximately 70 years ago, there was a slow-witted child named Johnny in the area. He had a slow thought process, and was frequently bullied. Due to a local logging company, there were often logging workers setting up camps, and they all lived in the forest. Johnny's parents were business-minded. They ran a shop in the camp, selling razor soap and other items, often inflating the prices, so that the logging company disliked the family, and often vented their anger on Johnny. One day, a drunk lumberjack was tripped by Johnny's toy car, resulting in a broken ankle, rendering him unable to work for several months. The lumberjack blamed Johnny for the accident, so he decided to teach him a lesson. They told Johnny, "I found a bag of toys," and asked the boy to meet him at the old fire lookout tower. Johnny believed it was true. He sneaked out of the camp at night, and when he reached the top of the tower, he didn't find any toys, only a person wearing an old-fashioned firefighter mask, hidden in the darkness to frighten him. Startled, Johnny slipped, and fell from the top of the tower to the ground, breaking his neck. The lumberjack realized the situation had escalated. He put the firefighter mask on Johnny, making him appear as if he was playing there by himself. One day later, Johnny's father discovered his son's body. He suspected that the incident was related to those lumberjacks. He confronted the group at the camp, leading to a fight. Unexpectedly, Johnny's father also lost his life. The person who killed him claimed it was self-defense, to avoid trouble. The logging company wouldn't press any charges. During Leo's storytelling, a man with curly hair took out a necklace and admired it, while another companion scoffed, saying it was just the death of a father and son. How could it be called a massacre? Leo told him not to be impatient. The real massacre happened a week after the tragic deaths of the father and son. Several executives from the logging company visited the campsite, and they discovered all the workers in the area had been brutally killed, some lumberjacks torn to pieces. The logging company was horrified. They donated some money to Johnny's mother, in the hope that the deceased would rest in peace. However, the police did not investigate further. They concluded that it was a case of food poisoning caused by contaminated meat. They also claimed the gruesome state of the bodies was caused by wild animals, but one of the police officers clearly saw a masked man lurking around the forest. Some people say it was the spirit of Johnny seeking revenge. Most people considered it as a folk legend and didn't take it seriously. As the night grew darker, everyone was getting ready to take a group photo and rest. No one noticed the killer hiding in the shadows, and no one knew that he was the slow-witted Johnny. Several people extinguished the flames and went to stay at a nearby cabin. The killer took down the hanging iron hook and approached the cabin in the woods. A person named Danny was sitting on the porch smoking. Then, Leo also walked out from the back door. Danny asked, "Are you going to the gas station to find a woman?" Leo explained that he just needed to use the restroom. His companion, of course, didn't believe him.
Fill me up, Aaron. Fill me up. Aaron, can you fill me up? Fill me up. Aaron, fill me up.
Leo angrily left the cabin. The other two people returned indoors, while the killer quietly followed. He was about to chase after Leo, when the light on the side of the house suddenly turned on. A woman inside the window was changing clothes, but the next second, she closed the curtains. At that moment, the sound of a lighter came from not far away. It was Leo lighting a cigarette. The killer followed. He grabbed Leo from behind with a saw and sliced off half of his head. The killer picked up Leo's body and walked into the depths of the forest. He arrived at the forest ranger station in the nature reserve. There was no one on duty inside at that moment. The killer smashed the glass, then threw in half of the head, and then opened the door, dragging Leo's body inside. The ranger station had many firefighting tools. Among them, there was an old-fashioned firefighter mask. The killer smashed the glass with Leo's body. He took out the mask from the display case, along with firefighting equipment. He put on the mask, carrying the fire axe and iron hook. He left, returning to the vicinity of the cabin. Two women were playing by the lake. One of them took off her clothes to swim, while the other wanted to do yoga. The killer left the axe on the shore and submerged into the water. The woman in the water was completely unaware. She was still chatting with her companion, saying she would do yoga after swimming. The companion left first, and the woman in the lake suddenly screamed. Then, she was dragged underwater by the killer. Finally, she resurfaced. The killer walked out of the small lake in silence. He approached the woman doing yoga near the cliff. He brutally killed her and pushed her off the cliff. After finishing all this, the killer returned to the forest to retrieve the axe. Faint voices could be heard not far away. A few young people noticed their companion was missing. They were discussing whether to call the police. The killer kept approaching the source of the voices, but halfway, he picked up a key, which had a toy car attached to it. He took off the mask and played with the toy car. His behavior resembled that of a child. Just then, a man in a denim suit came over to search for the lost key. He saw the killer had thrown the axe at the original spot. He hurried back to inform his companions about the danger in the forest. While the killer finally grew tired of the toy, he crushed the toy car, put the mask back on. The killer picked up a wooden stick and wedged it into the car horn. The car owner would surely come to investigate the sound. The killer took the opportunity to sneak around from the side of the cabin and then ambushed the car owner from behind. He slashed the other person's thigh. The car owner's companion suddenly fired a gun and knocked down the killer. The two of them bandaged their wounds and left. They didn't realize the killer was still breathing. The killer quickly got up. He threw the axe forward. The person who fired the gun was struck in the head. The car owner with the leg injury couldn't run far. The killer raised a stone and smashed the other person's head. He checked the car owner's jeans pocket, but didn't find the necklace. At this moment, the car owner's companions came back. The killer quickly pulled out the axe and walked towards them. He saw his mother's necklace. It was hanging around Gina's neck. He threw the axe, but the woman dodged it. York carried Gina and escaped. The killer didn't look for alternative transportation. He pursued on foot with the axe in his hand. He looked like a puppet. He kept walking until late at night, and finally found the couple at the ranger station. They were talking to the police. Gina questioned her boyfriend. Where did he get that necklace? York confessed. He found it near the fire lookout tower. Upon hearing this, the local police realized the killer was Johnny, and the necklace was his mother's heirloom.
Holding his soul at rest.
Okay, fine, then we'll just give it back.
You can't just give it back, he's awake now.
At that moment, the police saw Johnny wearing a mask. They fired at him, but the police knew bullets couldn't kill this person, but it would slow him down. He instructed York to get some iron chains from the shed, to bind the killer, and take him to the fire lookout tower, as it was the only place that could contain him. During this time, the police told Gina, the killer was the legendary Johnny, and my father was the only survivor among those lumberjacks who were slaughtered. The police's father had told him the method to seal Johnny, but the young police officer at that time didn't believe the legend to be true. Until 10 years ago, Johnny mysteriously came back to life and killed his entire family. Only then did the police understand that their father wasn't lying. He followed the method the other person had mentioned, knocked Johnny unconscious, and buried him underground, sealing him with the necklace. It was the only thing that could make Johnny rest in peace, but York accidentally picked up the necklace, thus releasing Johnny once again. At this moment, the three of them were about to restrain him. Unexpectedly, Johnny suddenly erupted. He grabbed the police officer's gun. The young couple took the opportunity to escape, while Johnny knocked down the police officer, breaking his spine. He dragged the police officer into the warehouse next to the ranger station, where several sets of logging tools were arranged. Johnny turned on one of the machines and placed the police officer's arm on the workbench, chopping it off. Then he aimed the machine at his neck until his body was torn apart. Only then did Johnny stop. He continued to search for the necklace while holding the axe.
Johnny! Come and get us! We're right here!
York wanted to attract Johnny's attention. His girlfriend could set a trap at the fire lookout tower. However, he was quickly caught by Johnny and split in half. Now only Gina was left. She witnessed the death of her boyfriend. She suppressed her fear. She dropped the animal trap in her hand, along with the gasoline can. Gina took off the golden necklace, placed the necklace on the gasoline can, and turned to run away. She ran a long way. Only then did she dare to slow down. The forest was full of dangers in the dark night. Gina's ankle was pierced by a tree branch. She pulled out the branch. Limping, she searched for an exit. She finally walked out of the woods, found a road, and luckily encountered a passing car. The driver took Gina away from the forest, and curiously asked her what had happened. Gina lied and claimed to have been attacked by a wild animal, not wanting to reveal the truth to the driver. The driver noticed Gina's leg bleeding continuously. He stopped the car to help. Otherwise, without waiting for the hospital, Gina would have bled to death. As the car had not yet left the road in the woods, Gina was on edge. She stared into the depths of the forest, fearing that the demon would appear. Beside the gasoline can, the necklace on it had disappeared. It seemed that Johnny only wanted to retrieve his mother's belongings. The film ends here. Most slasher films unfold from the victim's perspective. This one goes against the grain, unfolding from the killer's perspective, thus featuring a significant amount of third-party tracking shots, as well as numerous empty shots, giving the audience a sense of gaming experience. Johnny's character treads between innocence and brutality. His purpose is simple. Violence is just instinct. Although his body has grown up, his mind remains stuck in the year he was killed. The ending is also refreshing. It's considered a rather innovative attempt. If you like my channel, please subscribe to my channel.